So Nicky Campbell on the Big Questions show, could you please interact with some logic and evidence, please? I've got a third heading for you to look at. Not the question of race or the question of group politics, but the question now of resources. So let's not look at it from a racial angle or from a national angle, but simply from the angle of space. Space. Where are we going to put all these people? If we have a city the size of Birmingham coming into Britain, was it once every 6 years? Where are we going to put them? What are we going to do with what they produce? How are we going to feed them? How are we going to water them? How are we going to house them? How are we going to ensure that they have a high standard of living and a high quality of life, and without damaging our own standard of living and quality of life? Where are the jobs going to come from, or the wages? Where are the recreational facilities? Where is the food going to come from for this mass movement of people to our shores? So if I can just ask you to forget about the issue of race, if that's a bit of a hot potato for you, or the issue of group politics, on the simple question of space, it makes no sense at all. Why did David Blunkett say he could see no logical limit to the level of immigration? Why are the main parties not prepared to say, well, look, we've got to limit the number of people coming to Britain? Can't they see that the policy is mad? I was speaking to the Bishop of Hume the other day on radio, and he was up in arms about the fact that we discriminate. And I said, well, we should discriminate. And he seemed to think that you shouldn't discriminate. So I said, well, look, discrimination is where you recognise a difference.
Yep.
And where you treat people differently on the basis of this difference. Of course, I was getting it drawn into hot water. No, he couldn't discriminate, he said. Well, in that case, I said, you can't put a limit on the people who are coming. Could the whole world come to Britain? He said, we're not talking about that. Well then, if you don't want the whole world to come to Britain, you must limit the number coming. You must discriminate. You must say who can come here and who can't. Oh, we're not talking about that, he said. Where are your views in the Bible? So I quoted Genesis chapter 10, and I quoted Acts chapter 17, where each race should have its space. And he then said to me, don't you dare quote the Bible at me.